Welcome to another episode of the Midwest Artisan. I'm your host, Andy Hinkle.
And I'm your co-host, Dalton McCleery.
Together, we are two Laravel developers from the Midwest United States, and we talk Laravel, PHP, tech, anything happening that's exciting in the web dev industry. So, Dalton, how's it going?
Hey, Andy, it's going pretty good for me. Can't complain. Nice weather. We're getting into fall. It's really nice outside.
Great.
I'm loving it. How about you? How you been up to?
I've been struggling, dude. Yeah. We usually travel over Labor Day weekend. Went to Disney World, took our baby boy, and he had a great time. Came back, got COVID. That's the whole thing. So, yeah. Well, I feel much better today. So back in the saddle, feeling good.
Yep.
So I reached out to some Laravel peeps, and they also said they got COVID. So honestly, I've been all over the United States. It could have been from anywhere, but it's still a thing. It's going around, unfortunately. But yeah, I was dead to the world on Saturday. Sunday I was feeling a little better. Now I'm back in the saddle and ready to rock. So feeling good.
Yeah. Dang, man, that's rough. Me and my wife had it at one time, and I felt like I was going to die. Like just laying in bed. One of us had the bed, one of us had the couch. It's not fun. Not fun at all.
Well,
I do not envy your weekend. I mean,
yeah.
Disney sounded great. COVID afterwards, probably not the great
No,
capstone to that vacation.
No, it's like we spend so much time with the kiddo, then we get back, and of course he's wanting to tackle and play with me, and I can see him pointing across the room like Dada, and can't come up and touch him or anything, and it's just heartbreaking as a dad, So yeah, do you see Laravel special announcement? Wasn't that fantastic? 57 million funding.
Yeah.
So
They got big money now.
yeah, we'll add it to the show notes if you haven't read up on it. But it's pretty big news if you live it under a rock if you haven't heard it. But Excel partnered with Laravel and for funding for $57 million into kind of build Laravel's initiative into Taylor's new projects. And so very exciting stuff. This is also the same company that has backed Vercel. So I know it's Excel, but also Vercel. Gonna get tripped up there. Also, they funded Century, which I got to thinking the other day. I just have laying in bed. You have all the time in the world, but you can't really move around. But I was thinking about how Century recently partnered with Laravel on Forge and Vapor. I saw that thing and they're like, hey, just a click to install installation. I was like, oh, that's interesting because it makes sense of why they partner now because of their funding partnership. So, yeah, it's very exciting times for them.
Yeah, they're building up that Apple walled garden now. You're going to get in this Laravel ecosystem, and it's going to be so good you don't want to leave.
Yeah, I'm very excited for them, and there's just so much potential to come out of this. It just gives them a lot more opportunity, and I personally think Taylor didn't have to do this. If he wanted, he could do it with his own team, but I think the people that are coming in to help, they have proven work they have proven portfolios that have worked. Vercel, a Century, huge companies that they have a great backing. They have all those partners that they can talk to, they can link up with. And ask opinions and stuff. So I think it's a really great thing for the Laravel ecosystem. A lot of people on Reddit and Twitter, there's a lot of people in the bubble of they were excited, like this is good, and there's a lot of people like, oh no, VC, this is scary.
Yeah, no, it's both scary and it's both great. I mean, if you watch the Laravel special announcement video, Taylor basically was saying that they could have just played it safe, cruise like they've been doing, or they could try to hit it big and do some of these bigger projects like cloud and some of the stuff that we'll talk about a little later that they're teasing for Laracon AU. So I mean, you can't really blame them. You could coast. I mean, Laravel's great; it's always been great. But if you want to push the boundaries and innovate, you basically need more money. So I mean, I get why they're doing it, and I'm all for it. I mean, if it's going to make stuff like cloud and whatever else they're going to do, I'm here for it. You can call me a Laravel fanboy all you want because that's that's what I am, I guess. I mean, it's given me the career that I've wanted. It pays my bills. So I mean, if they're going to improve my experience and by default the clients that I work on experience, let's do it. I mean, let's give them more. Why don't we just round it to 60? Why do we got to stop at 57?
Yeah, I mean? It's kind of interesting how they got, like, you know, when I see these kind of numbers, so like when I see a trade in football, it'll be like 57 or you know, kind of, you know, those numbers, like, you know, just kind of wonder how they even got to that number. But it's, you know, either way, it's crazy numbers out there. But it makes you really excited to be just a part of the community of, like, you know, like you said, Taylor could have simply said to kind of coast to doing the kind of make these small iterations over the next years. Laravel would have been fine. But the fact that he just said, let's go all in, let's do this thing, and let's build this thing I've been dreaming of, and makes you so excited to be a part of it, just be a part of the community.
Yeah, 100%. So. I'm excited to see what else they're gonna announce, and we'll talk about that a little later as well.
Yeah.
Super pumped.
And it's starting to make so Laravel is out with this news. It's starting to make its rounds in the web dev industry, and like Primeagen, he went to Laracon. He talked about just the community and how great they were. And then I was listening to, it was either a video or a live stream he had going on the other day, but he was saying that he wants to build Primeagen.tv. So it's going to be like, I don't know if it's a new app that he's working on or something, but he's going to build that in Laravel. And so he's like, it doesn't matter what it's going to be written in. He's like, I want to put it in Laravel, you know, give it a shot. So it's really, it's just really crazy how it's kind of Laravel is making it into like the mainstream web dev. Us being developers, I personally don't care about that. I'm just like, well, that's exciting and cool that you're using it. Yeah, just kind of gets the word out more. But I hope people like it. I feel like I've moved faster in Laravel than I've worked anywhere else in any other tech. That's what gets me so excited about it. But yeah, we're always open arms and just, hey, come on in. The community is great. We'll help you out. So. Yes. But speaking of that, so speaking of like the community being great, did you see like Theo's tweets last night? No. Like a tweet rampage. So Theo GG, he had posted, he's been trying out Laravel. He read the docs. He had some issues with, I guess, getting set up. He installed Herd, and I think like he already had Homebrew on his system, and it blew up his system or something. But it like took out his Git. And so he couldn't even make changes or anything, which I've been there. I think every developer's been there. That's the most frustrating thing, where you can't even write a commit, or it's all like you're in homebrew hell. And so I felt really bad for him. I was like, man, this is really tough. But he was just kind of going on, and some of his comments were really kind of derogatory. It was like he would one thread he would be like, some of his comments were really helpful. For me, being a contributor to the documentation and stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, he's right. There is no mention of Brew, or no mention of like, hey, if you have a homebrew already set up, maybe you should do it this way. But those comments are really helpful. But some of them are just like for example, he's like, also, for the love of God, please use Prettier and have a default config, or hold my hand through setting it up. The hella experience with Blade and VS Code extensions deserves a thread of its own. And then the next one's like, I thought the Laravel community was friendly, you know, because some of the responses like, dude, settle down. Just want to offer him a Snickers bar, you know. Like, yeah. But yeah, I mean, some of the feedback is really good. Some of it was I'm curious on your thoughts here. He's like, one of the comments he made kind of stuck with me about, he said, I've never seen a framework. I'm not going to get this exact, but I've never seen a framework or something so quick to say, purchase this, purchase that, and all your problems will be solved. Because, you know, he was like complaining about VS Code, and people are like, use PHP Storm. He's like, okay, well, that's what, $250 a year. And so, and then they're like, oh, by the way, you need Laravel IDEA, and that's another, stack of money, So, and then Laravel Herd, that's where it all started. The original tweet that got this all up on in a fuss on Reddit. I woke up this morning with like 7 moderator notifications of people reporting comments for just on this thread. So yeah, it was nasty. But one of the how it started was he posted something about like Laravel is so ridiculous about with Herd. That's the thing they promote and say just to have logging you have to go have Pro. And it's like, well, not quite. You know, it's like one of those things you have to be in the Laravel ecosystem to understand.
It's nice to have. It's a feature, not a bug.
It's like a log viewer,
feature.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
optional.
Yeah, there's so many different ways to view logs from different ecosystem, like how you would view one in Ruby or just even in Node. You can it's a log file. However you want to look that up, it's up to you. So yeah, it was interesting. I don't want to get too much. I don't like to dive into drama like that, but it was. I was just like, some of the feedback was really good, you know. But it's just how Laravel is becoming more mainstream. You see a lot more feedback these days. So
yeah. I mean, I can understand some criticisms, like if the docs don't explain something very well or they quote-unquote forget something about you need Brew or the recommended ways to use Herd versus Valet or something like that. Like, that's fine, but a lot of those things are like personal preference. Like, you could use Valet or you could use Herd. But, yeah, criticism's fine, right? It's fine to criticize something. It's odd to be mean about it if I can put that into nice words. Yeah. Like you don't see us just crapping on Symfony or something of that nature, even though those docs aren't very great either. But you didn't hear that from me. But, you know, like, don't yuck my yum is what I keep thinking about every time I'm looking at his tweets. Is like, yeah, I get it. You know, that might suck. That might be a little difficult. You know, we're so used to the Laravel documentation. I don't think I've read the Getting Started docs in years, so I don't even know what they look like anymore. Mm-hmm. But yeah, some of these tweets and comments are in very poor taste, in my opinion.
Yeah, some it can be pretty helpful in some cases of getting fresh eyes, and Taylor's talked about this, about getting fresh eyes on the whole documentation about someone either from a different ecosystem or just somebody learning Laravel for the first time, where we've been doing it for 10 years now, and it's just like seeing somebody coming in with fresh eyes and like, oh yeah, well, we've been using Ray for years now, or been using Herd Pro or whatever the case is, whatever your taste is. It's interesting to see the fresh new take that's coming in. That'll be really helpful as we go throughout the feature of the documentation.
Yeah, just be nice. Don't be distasteful. Criticism is welcome. We can take criticism. Just be nice about it. Don't be an a-hole.
Speaking of being a-holes, I don't want to dive into the drama, but like Flux was another one of. It came out, it's $100 for one. It was like one project for 1 year, which I know can be a little tight. It reminded me a lot of Nova's prices, which I didn't have a problem with, but I guess I got to thinking about. I listened to Caleb's podcast, and he kind of described the situation, and I was like, he kind of has a good point. Like, I understand some people can be frustrated. So imagine you're billing the client. They're like, what is Flux? What is this $100 line item? Then you have to go explain that. If it was me, I would just include it into my costs as a developer and just say, hey, this was included in the programming cost, and they wouldn't even question it. But it's just like, you have to, for those that do have to explain that, it's this, oh, it's a UI library? Well, what is that?
Why?
Like, yeah. Well, what? Yeah. Just having to explain it to clients that completely understand. Yeah. So he came out with like 3 different podcasts, and they're all great. I don't know if you listen to them. Notes on Work.
I listened to one with Aaron. I listen to mostly technical.
Oh, okay.
Which,
if you get a chance,
hot take, that's my favorite pairing of a podcast duo. Please, Aaron.
Oh yeah,
Caleb. If you start a podcast together, subscriber number 1. Please.
It's a good week when no plans to merge and mostly technical have a release. It's a good week. And unfortunately, I don't think we're gonna have either one this week. So the others, yeah.
I saw Ian was still out.
Yeah, and Aaron has 400 kids and a plumber that's plumbing issues. Yeah, we'll see. But anyway, yeah, Flux, he changed the pricing, and it's going to be like, I think it was like 149 for a solo dev. It's like a year of unlimited updates. I think he kind of eliminated the projects, so you can have unlimited projects. But for a team, it's like 249, 349. But it doesn't matter. I mean, it's still pretty cheap for the value that you're going to get. So I know at our agency, like the next big project, I'm definitely going to propose just, hey, let's just use this. It's going to cut out a lot of time going in the future. So when we do get new projects, so definitely going to put that, because like I mentioned last show, how many times do we copy that AppBlade PHP date pickers? We fight with date pickers all the freaking time. And Caleb was talking about on No Plans of Marriage how he just wants to go to like a cabin or something and write a date picker. Just like perfect. This is the guy I want. Just write me a Livewire date picker. I love it.
Yeah, please. Something accessible as well. Not just flashy to be flashy. It's gotta work really well.
I DM'd Caleb and I said, man, I can't imagine what you're going through. It's kind of a roller coaster of emotions. I told him that he should keep on the current path of like the $99 thing. I was like, I wouldn't change anything. But I said, but what you should do is have a discount code. Discount code is entitled, all in caps. And I said, when you enter it in, it's 50% more. Like, so you add it, and it doubles in price. It's like, hey, here's a discount code. Sorry about your. So he had a good laugh with that. I was like, so at least try to make him, hopefully make him smile and cheer him up. But because I'm sure he's probably down in the dumps for being so excited for an 8-month project.
Yeah, I mean, pricing software is weird, but I've seen UI libraries that are less, that are just less than this, cost like double. And so the fact that you're getting like a well-known creator like Caleb Porzio behind it, I think that justifies the price, in my opinion. Like, I get that it might be high for some solo devs, but if you're a solo dev and it makes your work faster, like if you could get done faster and say you're charging per sprint instead of charging per hour, you're gonna make money buying this package in the long run than what you are in the short run, in my opinion. So I mean, I get the drama behind it, but like, if it's going to save you hours of time, that $100 or $150 seems worth it to me. I see a lot of other packages that do way less than this cost way more than this. Not to name any names, but I can send you a private DM of one in particular that I bought that has just let me down over and over, and actually cost me more time to rip stuff out of it than it did of what it proposed to save me time. Like, I had to, like, I don't need this, and why is this baked in? Why do I have to use this? Get out of here. It's like, this is not doing what it told me it was supposed to do. Yeah, whereas I feel like Caleb is usually his track record's pretty good. Like, I use Livewire every single day, and I still love it.
Yeah, I think where a lot of people that come from is that they didn't see the talk and they just see fluxui.dev, and it's just like just a few components on the homepage, and then no like mention of the where to go for the docs. It was just like, here's a few components, here's where you pay. And so Caleb was like, I didn't even take an account of like people would be seeing the web page and didn't see the talk, or I thought people like at Laracon would see the talk and then go to the webpage, versus the other way around. And so I think that's where people got their frustrations. It was like, what is this? Like, just go use this or go use that, so.
Yeah. I haven't purchased it yet. I do plan on purchasing it, because if it's going to save me time, I'm all for it. I'm one of those guys. Like, I'll pay $100 to not spend 4 hours of my time building XYZ. Like, if somebody else has already figured it out, it's well built, well documented, it's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So last show we kind of briefly touched on Inertia 2.0. First off, did you want to anything else on the Caleb thing?
Caleb, please start a podcast with Aaron Francis. Also, don't listen to the haters. Flux is cool.
Yeah.
Pricing is what it is. It's hard to price stuff. So, I mean, take that with what you will. Also, I like Andy's idea. Please do the entitled thing. Send that out in a Reddit post.
Oh, people, yeah.
And then promptly
Just post
block
that
all
on
of your
Reddit.
messages.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all
Turn
else
off
I'll say.
notifications. Yeah, I love that. So yeah, Inertia 2.0. We briefly touched on it last show, but has async request polling, when visible, infinite scrolling, prefetching, and so there's a lot of the great things coming out of it. I'm really looking forward to, especially I think probably my favorite is prefetching.
That's what I was about to ask you. Which one of those like gets you hyped the most? And it's prefetching. Okay.
Yeah, probably prefetching because so we have some pages that are pretty heavy. They're like a lot of content basically on a page, a lot of HTML. So I think if they hover over a link, we might just be able to, just that few extra milliseconds will be helpful of saving that time. And I think it's kind of hard to sell that to the client of explaining that of like, hey, we're going to do some dev work to speed things up. That's all we have to tell them. But it's just like, for us to actually get into the nuts and bolts of like what that is, it's kind of like tricky to explain. Like, oh, you hover over a link and then it prefetches the page, but it's just like trying to explain that to a non-technical client is a little tricky. So, but these are things that have been requested for years in Inertia. It's good to see some love and. There's what really opened my eyes is how Inertia, they previously said that it'll be a done thing or feature complete. And there's so much that they found as they're getting into some of these things. So it's really exciting.
I'm super pumped for infinite scrolling. Like I don't use Inertia, but the fact that I can like have some data load and then scroll down and have another piece of data load, like just to save on the separate chunks, like quote unquote under the fold, I think would be really, really cool. Especially if you then prefetch that page. So you're only prefetching that top chunk. That thing is going to be just lightning fast. Fast. That's what I think I'm the most excited about. Infinite scrolling. Plus just anything with infinite in the name sounds cool to me.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I also like the asynchronous request we've battled this a few times where you might have like a heavy API request or a heavy backend operation, and to defer that to the front end and then load it in. That's where traditionally, like if I know going into the project this is going to happen and I'm trying to decide between Livewire or Inertia, that might be my pivot point of going with Livewire. There's a million different things that I have to consider. What devs are going to be working on this, if there's a project handoff to what devs they have on their team, or what freelancers they have working with us about what they're comfortable with, etc. There's a lot of things we have to consider. But if it's just greenfield, it's just me, I might go reach for like Livewire in this case if there isn't. But now it's kind of like, oh man, this is a tough battle. I don't know. Should I use React or Vue or with Inertia, or should I go Livewire? So yeah, I know Dalton's decision. Yeah.
I mean, again, I don't hate Inertia. I've used Inertia before, and I think it's great. It's just I like writing my stuff in PHP. Like I don't like the weird. It's not like a bad context switch, but it's like, all right, here's all my PHP backend logic. Here's all my front end React Vue logic. Like if it's all just PHP and Blade, I don't know. I'm just faster that way, and I don't have to wait for like builds and junk like that. So.
Yeah.
But options is great. Like this is like the difference between picking an iPhone 16 and an iPhone 16 Plus. Like they're basically the same phone, one's just a little bigger with a bigger screen or something like that. That's how I view Inertia versus like Livewire. You can't go wrong either way. It's going to be a great product.
Mm-hmm.
Just
both are great choices.
Pick your flavor.
Yeah. I feel like if as long as you're picking one, if you're going just vanilla Blade with something, you might be okay. But then once you get out of that, like people, you don't really hear this much, but except for some legacy apps, you might have to rescue of like a SPA with React Router and or something like that. Be careful, but you might want to migrate to Inertia.
I have PTSD from that. Actually, because that's what I had. This was before like React or before Inertia even had like server side rendering. I had built a React Laravel application with custom SSR, like having the whole client file and the whole server file, and then you got to make sure that all your components don't use the window attribute and all that other junk. So I did upgrade that app from Chaos to Inertia, and I've never been happier. That's like the one Inertia site that I have in production is that one. And it was just like add one flag for SSR, and the site looks the exact same. Like nobody even noticed a difference. Upgraded it to Laravel 11. The client's like, oh, yeah, everything works. No QA needed. I was like, yes. Wow. Score 1 for Inertia.
Love that.
Yeah, so I mean, with Inertia 2.0, that's nice. And the 57 million from Excel is really nice. So I'm very curious on what your thoughts are, because we talked about it last time. What else is Laravel building in secret? What are they doing behind the scenes? They got 57 million. They got 30 plus employees now. They've announced cloud. That's already going to be a huge undertaking. But you know, in Taylor's talk, he did that little smile wink. We got more planned for AU, and we think that it's going to be what we talked about last time, which is sort of your event tracker. But is it though? Do you think? Like, what are they doing back there?
I'm curious what you think. First of all, if you're like, is it? So what's your take? What do you think? You think they're building an NFT trading company over there?
No, I hope not. I hope not. Please don't do that, Taylor. If you're listening, no NFTs, please. I'm.
What do you think?
I don't know. I really don't know. I know that it has to be something. I'm assuming that it has to do something with Laravel Cloud, like how they partnered with Sentry, like you mentioned before. So now in Forge, you can just do that one little toggle, and now you've got Sentry or whatever. I'm thinking that it's going to be something similar for cloud. You're going to be in cloud. You're going to have a site. You're going to have this little toggle that turns on whatever it is that they're building here, which I assume is going to be some sort of monitoring analytics thing. What it monitors and what it does, I'm very curious. But I don't know. I don't know what else. That's what I'm thinking, that it's got to be something in that nature. Does that match what you're thinking?
Right. If they don't build this, I will, because I want it so desperately. So what I think it is I talked to this about a previous show, but just to catch people up, I think it's a service that monitors every aspect of your Laravel application from every event. And so that would be from every request that is happening on your application to the logged in, logged out event, to anything in the Illuminate events area that Laravel does under the hood. It just automatically captures. And then additionally on top of that, you can maybe add some manual events for tracking on this service. So it's very similar to Laravel Pulse, but more of a SaaS version of that, because there's been some things from Laravel Pulse that I've been wanting for like email notifications, like when a slow query happens, when I want to get an email about it, or get like maybe a weekly report. That'd be great, because then I can come to the client and say, hey, we noticed this data table's having some issues. We're going to spend X amount of time on trying to improve it, etc. And so we currently do this now, and it's the code I'm not proud of. And it's not terrible. It's in a middleware, but how it works is it's just an appended middleware, and then it logs pretty much anything and everything, and just like from requests that come in through the application to login events like I just discussed, and it's all through CloudWatch. And I had to create these crazy dashboards. Had to learn CloudWatch and the AWS system. It's good. And then I was like trying to figure out email notifications. You have to like pipe it into an application to send you an email notification, if that makes sense. Like you can set up like notification events in AWS, but you have to point to where you want it to go. You can't just say, hey, SES, send me an email or whatever. You have to go and tell your application that this event happened, and then the application has to turn. So there's just all this ping pong going on. Your application has some event that shouldn't have happened or whatever that you want to be notified about, goes to CloudWatch. CloudWatch says, oh, okay, I logged that event. Now I need to figure out how to process it. Oh, we need to notify Andy, that this happened. Okay, well, I'm going to go to that notification chain. I'm going to go back to the application. Application goes, okay, well, I'm going to go back to AWS and go to SES and send you an email. It's just way overcomplicated, right?
Super inefficient. Yeah.
So, in Pulse, like Pulse is great. You can install Pulse, but you won't ever get notified. It's one of those things you go in after the fact. They didn't advertise it as like, this is something that you're being constantly notified about. You have to go in and monitor on your own. It's kind of like a post-event kind of thing. Like, I'm going to go check out what happened for this user or this case, see what happened. Or if the application is slow, you can go into Pulse and see what's going on, see how many requests you're getting, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, what I'm getting at is we have all this tracked in AWS CloudWatch. I would love just to have like a super simple service, like I Composer, install it, you plug in your API key, and this is where it kind of gets interesting to me. So it'd be kind of neat if I didn't even have to Composer install it. That's what I'm kind of thinking. Like, that'd be pretty wild if they could make this happen. But if I was in Vapor or Forge or Laravel Cloud, I check a box and just boop, we got it. We were tracking all your stuff. Now, if you wanted to get more granular of like you want to track specific events, that's when you might reach for a Composer package, and then you say, hey, by the way, I want to go ahead and track this custom event, but whatever the case is, you can set up. I'm dreaming here, but this you can set up notifications that would email you. I really hope they're working on this. If it's not what they're working on, I'm going to be shocked. I mean, honestly, I don't know any of the internals. I haven't talked to any Laravel employees about this. This has all just been me and you thinking about this.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of my take of what I think it's going to be. And because I've battled this. Even I mentioned at the top of this, like, even for personal projects, I could use this. I have a personal project now where the client asked me to build a form, built it out for them, and it's just like a sign up for an event, right? And they're like, I emailed this to a customer, told them to fill it out, and they said they got an error. And check the exceptions, nothing. And just like, well, okay. And I was thinking in my head, like, if I set this up to be at least monitored in CloudWatch, I know at least I could understand if they hit the page or if they hit a 422, what 422 it was. But the fact that we don't know anything, it's just like, well, they hit, there's no exception here. I'm just like, well, they're going to have to try it again. I don't see their record. So it can be frustrating. And then I look like, it's not that when I go back to the client and be like, I don't really know. Sorry, I don't have anything in the log, and this gets a little bit more deeper into that and solves those kind of problems. So hopefully it'll solve something like that. And okay. I do at least the hints that, let's just go with the hints that they've been giving us, right? Big data, obviously. Jess Archer he's kind of hinted that Jess Archer has been kind of leading or kind of been working a lot on this project. She did a talk about analytical databases, about very heavy, a lot of data. Taylor himself has said, for the thing that we're building, we're going to need something very large that can handle large amounts of data. So we're obviously dealing with big data sets here. So a lot of data tracking. It just makes sense to me. It's just an analytic platform for the monitoring your backend. So
yeah, it's got to be something like that. I mean, would they do some sort of like Google Analytics alternative? Like, could it be something like that where you're tracking user events and like user exceptions at the same time? Like, this user is on this journey, clicking these buttons, visit this page, submitted this form, got this error, resubmitted it again, didn't get an error, sent this email. Something of that nature. Or, I mean, as you were talking, it's like, man, I know people don't really like to talk about AI in the dev space because they think that it's going to take our jobs or whatever it is from that South Park episode. But I mean, it could be some AI stuff. Big data sets makes me think analytics of some kind. They're going to be tracking something for us. I love what you said if I didn't have to compose or install it. Like, if I'm on cloud, I can just check this box. It sort of takes its own arms, wraps it around my application, and it just does it for me. I mean, I would love that. Kind of like how Vercel does some of their their monitoring stuff. I don't have to install packages for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got to be something analytics based, and it's going to
Theoretically, I
be tracking
wonder-
some sort of events or all.
We get the developer mindset pretty quickly. I'm like, theoretically, how could you do that? Because it's like once it's on Laravel Cloud, and you brought in all these packages. If you checked a box, there could be like a conditional. Oh, if they check that box, and then Composer install this. But then if they do a push, then Composer uninstall it. It gets really kind of messy, right? Because you don't want it to fight your Composer lock file, or is it even a Composer package at that point? You just draw. I don't know. It gets
What if it's
super
just
complex.
Just an executable that they just place on your Laravel Cloud instance that they can just say, "Oh, hey, is this executable available? All right, cool. We're gonna run this little patch of code or something like that."
Yeah.
Like
It's
if
like a
it's
process,
cloud,
yeah.
they're doing the Apple thing where they're gonna control both the software and the hardware, right? So if the hardware is cloud and the software is Laravel, they're gonna have to have their own little special ways to make that magic connect between those two. I'm hoping it's going to be something super easy like that, just a little checkbox. Boom. They can charge me whatever it is a month to sort of host that data set. But
Yeah.
if it's good, hell yeah, I'm going to use it.
What is?
I'm already going to use cloud. I'm excited for that. I've got projects I want to host on it right now, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. Same here. Yeah. I talked to a previous show about migration, but yeah, any new projects, so we're definitely going to be reaching for that. I just Googled it for Laracon AU. It's November 7th and 8th. So there's tickets still available. I'd love to go if it wasn't so far away. Dude,
Yeah,
flying to Australia, I
plane for
heard, is a
20.
wild ride. Yeah, like 20 hours.
I don't like flying. I don't like heights. So I mean, to me, flying from, like Louisville, and yes, it is pronounced Louisville, Kentucky to like California was like 4 hours. Hated every minute of that. So I could not imagine flying 20 plus hours to Australia. Plus they got big spiders down there, and I don't like spiders.
There's so many great people coming. I mean, we have Matt Stauffer and Keith from Titan. Yeah, there's just so many like friendly people here. Like these are people mostly from Australia. Well, obviously those people I just listed aren't from Australia, but there's several people in here that are. Stephen Reese Carter. There's so many people I was like really excited to meet. They're probably thinking the same thing, like United States, that's a far flight.
Yeah.
And Taylor's gonna be there too. So.
Yes, the man himself.
I got the you're talking about like long flights. The Laracon India organizer, he was at Laracon US. He came up to me and he was like, "I know you from somewhere." It's like, I'm not sure. Maybe said he's like, "Are you on Twitter?" And like, yeah. And it turns out we follow each other. And he's like, "You need to come speak at Laracon India." I was like, I've never even done a Laracon talk or even online talk or anything like that. I was like, look, and he's like, you should just submit a talk. Like, we would love to have people like you out there. I was like, okay, well, I said maybe not this year or this coming Laracon India, but that'd be a wild ride, wouldn't it? Just to India. I heard the culture there is just so much different, which I think it'd be fun, but who knows?
It would definitely be culture shock for you as someone who is vertically not challenged. Would stick out quite a bit in that crowd.
I thought you were going to say for my diet, because my horrendous diet. I've been known for being one of the pickiest eaters that people know, and so I'm just a meat and potatoes kind of guy, like very Midwest.
Midwest guy, come on. You like corn, right?
Yes. Well, corn's okay. Sweet corn.
What? that's
sweet.
A rite
it has
of
to be
passage.
sweet. It has to be
any
sweet
kind of
corn. Okay. I went to Italy for like 2 weeks. I got back and we landed in Chicago. First thing I did, got off the plane, walked immediately over to like the closest burger shop. Like, I miss my hamburgers. I'm a true American.
Yeah. No, not saying that you're one of those guys that gets McDonald's in like the UK or London. But
no,
I would. I want to try McDonald's in London.
I would. Yeah, I actually do not like McDonald's, but I think I would try it just for the experience,
Yeah.
But if I go to India, I got to try curry, even though I'm not a huge fan of it. I at least got to try it. Yeah, at least got to try it. So, but anyway,
I mean, a Laracon talk by Andy Hinkle might not be bad. Listen, if Laravel's not building this this event tracker thing, 100%, that's what your talk should be.
They've got to be.
You should build it and make a talk about it.
Yeah.
If they're not, I don't know what you guys are doing. I mean, I'm sure it's cool, but I have no idea. You would have subverted all of my expectations possible. I mean, it's crazy what Laravel's building with $57 million, but like Tim McDonald's doing for free for the PHP documentation. Like, have you been seeing? I've seen tweets. Are they still called tweets? I've been seeing posts about modernizing the PHP documentation, and I've seen a lot of stuff from Tim McDonald that he's sort of doing in his free time. Have you been seeing this stuff?
Yeah, it looks really good. I've seen his screenshots he's had on Twitter. It was a while ago, wasn't it?
I think he said he was March of 2023. That's when he started. It looks like.
Okay, yeah, but I saw someone recently was posting it's been 10 years and it still looks the same, which I agree. Like, anyone seeing the PHP documentation, it's just, you kind of know as a PHP developer, like, you get pretty familiar with it. I don't know if that's how the developers that are actually in the core PHP are. Like, they're just been so familiar with it, they know exactly where to go to find things. And his screenshots, will provide it in the show notes, that he's been doing. It's like a breath of fresh air.
It looks so nice.
It looks really good.
It looks incredible.
And so, yeah, you can actually copy out snippets, and it's just very clean and just very like the Laravel elegant way. And not saying that Laravel should have a great influence in the PHP docs, but they just need some help. They just need some love. It's just like they have a giant bar. I'm looking at it now. It's like change language. Like in the top corner. I'm like, where do you see that on websites these days about just changing? It might have like the icon in the top right corner or something. It's just, and that's actually what he did. It's just like, it cleans up really nicely. Looks really good.
What's this even called? What did he call it? Al fresco, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that name.
So, I mean, I think it's needed. I don't know how much merit it's going to have coming to life. I want it to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and I think it'll be better for people to make contributions to the actual documentation. I made a PR, this is years ago. Somebody on Twitter was talking about how they were frustrated about how PHP is, you have to write it in HTML. And we're like, well, you could just write a PHP file. And they're like, well, even the documentation says like you have to, you put out like hello.php. And then you write some HTML, and then you write the curly bracket, echo, like the inline PHP. You don't have to do that. And so I made a PR and just saying, explain that in Hello World that HTML tags you don't have to use them, because their first example of like how to use PHP, the Hello World example is like an HTML file and then inline PHP. It's like you can just do echo PHP. So I did a PR to that, but I remember like having to go through. I'm looking at this old PR. It's like Simpera, and like it's a tag called Simpera, and literal. And so there's these things and these are components that they baked into their framework, and these like a blade component or something, but they're like PHP components that they personally did. So you have to like understand the way that they wrote this documentation to even contribute to it. And it was kind of rough, and I feel like if it was just Markdown, people could just like, oh, okay, I can fix this typo, or
easy peasy.
Or not there's a typo, but actually make a useful contribution.
I mean, yeah, it's going to have to be a big undertaking, and it's going to have to come from the PHP maintainers. Like, I like what Tim McDonald's doing. It looks great. It looks modern. If the PHP owners and contributors can get behind it, I'd be all for it. I'd try to help. I mean, I don't know how much I can help. Tim McDonald looks like he's killing it.
Tim McDonald always puts out some amazing work. Like anything that he's doing, I watch really closely, or anything he puts out. It's always really high quality work. So it's good stuff.
Plus, he's got a dope beard. Shout out Tim McDonald's beard.
Wish I could grow one. Just like it just goes straight down.
You should get one eventually. Get you a soul patch.
Oh, my
have
wife
a
would
sole
hate that. No.
Well, yeah. You got to get CFO approval. You need to submit an expense report on how much this is going to take to maintain a beard. 'Cause you got to get beard balm. You got to get all the stuff. You got to get your own special beard brush or whatever. Or you just be like me and nobody really knows what to get me for Christmas. So I collect like beard kits. So I probably have like a year's worth of supply of beard balm if you need some.
Oh,
I'll ship you some
nice.
for free.
Well,
Merry Christmas,
this weekend,
happy birthday.
When I had COVID, I was staying away from everybody, and I was down the hallway, and my wife was like, "When you're like feeling better, the first thing you do is you need to shave." So I haven't shaved in like it was like 3 days at that point. I had shaved, and so she's like, "You need to shave." She's wonderful, don't get me wrong, but she does not like me with a beard. She's like, it just doesn't look good. It grows in weird patchy places.
I was going to ask you, how often do you shave? Do you shave every day? Every other day?
Well, every 2 to 3 days. Yeah, it's about every other day.
Kidding.
Yeah,
I did not know that about you.
Yeah,
that's
it comes
insane.
in pretty quick. Is that pretty often? I didn't know that.
I
with the beard.
I don't shave at all, so I'm like I don't. I didn't know how often you shaved. If your wife goes on a vacation by herself for a week, do not shave that week. I want to see a week's worth of growth. And then shave it right before she gets home.
Right before she's walking. I'm in there. She's like, yeah.
Yeah. Come on, let's just see.
I'm gonna give it a shot. We'll see.
I think
so terrible. I look. So, what you've been mentioning over the weeks? You've been working on a Project X. Do you have an update for us?
Kind of.
Okay.
I'm hesitant to say the name.
There was a sign.
I mean, I've already
started there.
I've already bought the domain name, so I mean, you can't. If I say the name, you can't go out and buy it before I can buy it because I've already bought it. But yeah, this is why I sympathize with Caleb Porzio, because he has a package that are sort of like component-based things and charging per project, and that's sort of what I've been building on in the background. My Project X is called Auto Load. I don't want to give too much away, but it does involve the tall stack, obviously. It is very filament heavy. It relies on filament quite a lot. And it should be launching in a couple weeks. I don't know if I want to say anything else about it. I did show you the homepage and some of the docs before we recorded this. So it's almost done. It's something I've been working on for quite a while. It's got quite a lot of components and pieces and sort of niceties, nice to haves. Hopefully in the hopes of speeding up development, especially for like CMS type projects in Filament, because that seems to be what I do the most. So yeah, I think that's all I want to say until it's out. It's called Autoload. It's going to be using Filament. It's a CMS-based component thing. It is a composer package, so it's not going to be like a GitHub repository you get access to, and you have to mirror and pull changes down and merge conflicts. I hate all that. It's a composer package. It's going to do a lot of stuff for you. I think it's going to speed up your development tenfold, like it's already done for mine. And the fun fact is that the documentation site that I built for it is built in Autoload. So like I can manage the site itself that's marketing the product with the product, which I think
those are the best products. So like, how like with Laravel Vapor runs on Laravel Vapor, and so I love that, the idea of doing that.
I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I'm going to build the site that I market it with the product that I'm marketing the site with.
I like it.
Just to prove the fact. So yeah, I hopefully before the end of September it should be public and released somewhere.
Are you considering posting in the Filament Marketplace store?
It's not necessarily a plugin for Filament. I do plan on at least trying to sponsor Filament, since the package relies so much on Filament itself. It seems only fair to give some old kickback to Dan. TBD. That's Project X.
Now, I do have 2 weeks.
I do have hopefully 2 weeks soon.
Well,
before September is my goal.
Okay.
Before the end of September.
Nice.
And then
do you have any technical bits you want to talk about, like with payment I know that was like it's always an interesting concept about how to handle payments properly, or subscriptions versus one time. So how are you handling it? Is it like a one time thing you're in, or is it like you get updates for a year?
I'm still undecided, but as of now, it is pay once, you get it forever. I don't, I don't,
Once.com.
I can think it would be a SaaS. I think it would just make people more mad that it's a subscription than if I just charged a higher price up front, you get it for lifetime, than trying to nickel and dime you for, X amount a year for a couple of years to make my money back or whatever. So right now it's lifetime. It is more than Flux. I'll tell you that. It's going to charge more than Flux. It's a lot more than a component library. It's going to handle a lot of things for you, and I've sort of compiled a couple of the key things that I think a lot of CMS-driven sites using Filament and Laravel need. Like, it's going to have a media library. It's going to use Spotty's. It's going to use Spotty's media library, right? So you're going to get all of those niceties. It's going to use, I think the guy's name's Jason Silber, something like that. Page cache. So your pages are going to be cached. You can use Nginx to, get them right there, and it's going to make your site load as fast as possible. Just some of those like niceties, Spotty image optimization, Spotty, Spotsdy. I can't pronounce it right. That's my Midwest accent.
Yeah.
To like auto optimize your images into WebP, so like they're in the next gen format. You can upload a JPEG, and the media library is going to put it into WebP, auto optimize it for you when it's displayed on the page to get your load times as fast as possible. Trying to be as accessible as possible. You manage all your alt tags in the media library. That way, you just include them on the page, and boom, the alt text automatically show up. That type of thing. I want to get niceties. I want you to be able to build the CMS in Filament and Laravel as fast as possible. And that's sort of what autoload is going to do. It's going to autoload all of these things for you, and you don't have to think about them. Hence the name, autoload.
Yeah. Not to be too confused with the PHP autoloader.
But that's kind of what I named it after.
Okay, yeah, I like some inspiration
of that nature. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm excited
cool,
for it.
man.
I've been working on it a long, long time. And it's taken quite a lot of development to just to get it ready for launch. Like, I had to build other packages to sort of help with my launch. Like, I use repman.io. I don't know if you've heard that. It's where you can host like private composer packages, and then you can generate sort of access tokens, license keys, so people can download your composer package instead of using Packagist. It's free.
Yeah.
I highly recommend that. But the marketing site's built with Cashier and Paddle, and so I've got to basically hook into all that. You complete a transaction, I've got to now call Repman to get you a new access token, send you an email so you can download all that stuff. That package didn't exist, so I had to make that in order to get ready to launch this thing. The problem was I already did a bunch of testing with trying to purchase stuff, so I had to make another package to then go back through and basically replay Cashier events so I can test to make sure that it creates the access token and sends you an email. Like, it was quite a journey just to get to where it is now, and I could see the finish line. It's so close. I could see it.
Wow.
I could almost taste it, but I could see it.
So you mentioned replay events and stuff like that. Is there any like verbs or event sourcing happening, or is it just all, since it's CMS driven? Is it? I don't know, because you talked about like having a history state sometimes, or trying to do that. So yeah.
It's so it is going to come with what I call revisions. So whenever you make a page update in the Filament CMS, we'll keep a version history of everything previous to that. So you can always roll back. So, I didn't mean to change the header on Tuesday. I'll roll it back to what it was on Monday. We'll have stuff like that. But as far as like replaying events, the CMS itself won't. But I did have to build a separate little package. I made it open source. It's for Cashier to replay events for Cashier, because I hated how I hate setting up ngrok for local Cashier like webhook stuff. It's annoying to me. I just want to use my herd TLD, do all of my stuff there, and just have it work without setting up an ngrok, and then I've got to set up webhooks for that ngrok tunnel, and it's just a nightmare. So that's not part of the CMS, but I did make a package for replaying cashier paddle events so that I could test this package. It's and that's why I haven't seen anything else like this in the community on Filament yet. So I'm hoping that it's unique. But I'm too far in to not launch it, so I'm at least going to launch it. If it sucks, please don't let me know. If it's awesome, then let me know. You can send me a message.
You talked about Repo Man. One that I've heard and people have been using for a while is AnyStack. It's anystack.sh if you looked into them. But that's what Caleb was. He uses for Flux. And so if you have any troubles with Repo Man, you might give that a shot. So yeah, man, it sounds really exciting.
Yeah, I looked into AnyStack first. And here's where my cheapskate comes in, is that it costs money for AnyStack, and you have to sell exclusively on AnyStack for the lowest tier. So like I couldn't host the package myself. I had to. So if you wanted to check out, you'd have to check out on AnyStack. Like I just redirect you there, and I felt it was important for more branding purposes to keep you on the site. Just use the paddle overlay function. Check out on the site. Be done.
That's on their lowest plan.
Yeah, it was something like that where you could only sell on their marketplace, and they take like 15-20% of your your fee. But if I could just put it in Paddle and use Repman, I could keep a lot more of the revenue, and I just have to spend a little bit of time making a package that creates access keys on every Paddle purchase. I thought that was more worth it than trying to pay AnyStack, X amount of money. Nothing wrong with AnyStack. I think it's great. But for a solo indie developer like myself, it's not another thing I wanted to pay for to get my idea out fast.
Well, at least starting out, right? Because I feel like, it might be maybe a transition in the future, but at least for, starting out when you're at the bottom line of $0, and I'm looking at their starting, it's like $40 a month, which isn't crazy, but when you have hosting and everything piled on top of it, it really adds up. And so I was like, once you get things going, then it's like, maybe this is something I should pursue more. So, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely looked into it. The other big thing that I didn't like about AnyStack was the number of licenses. Like I don't predict that I'm going to have like hundreds of licenses immediately. But like if that's the restriction of me paying $40 a month versus like $100 a month so I can have more licenses, it's got to be big for me to pay for that, and it's I'm in the negatives right now. Like I've spent money on it and I haven't made anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, in the true MVP fashion, I'm trying to get it out there fast and cheap. See if people like it.
Sounds good, dude. I'm excited to hear more. So yeah, we'll definitely talk about it more in detail when you get close to pressing the big launch button.
Yeah, TBD. It gives me a little heart palpitations thinking about pressing the launch button, but it's coming.
Yeah, it's always a little terrifying.
It's soon.
Yeah,
it's soon. Big stuff coming.
Cool, dude. Excited to hear more. All right.
Yeah.
So last thing I want to talk about, the Artisan Brew. It's fantastic. It's so good. I tried it at Laracon. So at Laracon, they had a coffee bar. At first it was, they have two different coffee bars in the venue, and they have one, but then people got too loud in the venue. They're trying to tell people to cool down, but there's a lot of people just kind of talking around the coffee bar or vendors and stuff. So the trick is you go to the back, there's hardly any line, So my coffee of choice, we talked about this a little bit, but if you have an open coffee bar, I love an iced vanilla latte. It's just my thing, what I really like. So I got that in the Artisan Brew. I had 4 of them in one day.
Oh no!
It was free. It was free. It was all provided at the conference. It was so good. I wasn't bouncing off the walls or anything, but it was incredibly good. And so my brew hasn't made it in yet. I need to check up on that, but I'm so stoked when it actually does. I came back home and I came back home and I tried my brews that I already have here that are not the Artisan blend, and I was deeply disappointed. I'm like, I miss it. Can't wait for it to come in. So it is very good.
Okay,
so
I mean,
Artisan Brew by the Terminal SH. Give it a try.
Is it exclusive, or are they going to like continuously do this thing? Because if it's exclusive, you need to buy you a bunch of packs right now. Like,
I think
to hell with the podcast and buy more.
I think it's going. Yeah, that's always the worry, right? I battle this with like creamers and stuff a lot. They'll have like a creamer that you really like, maybe like a seasonal thing, and then or not even a seasonal thing. It'll just be going for years. And all of a sudden, it's gone. You're like, well, and then they're like, well, that was a marketing campaign we've had for 2 years or whatever. So, but that's what I kind of worry about with like a brew I like, and so I try to stick with the flagship brew when I choose a brewing company. So that way, I pretty much know unless they go out of business, they're pretty much not going to get rid of that unless they change it or something. But Artisan Brew, I think it seems to be selling really well. There's a lot of I see a lot of things on Twitter about it. So hopefully it'll stay around. But I'm a customer, so and I plan to be one for a little while. So yeah.
Okay.
Be good.
So I mean, passes the test. It's not a quote unquote cash grab. It's actually legit.
It's
delicious.
Good. Yeah, for sure.
All right, good for them.
Terminal team support and put some money in Primogen's pocket and the rest of the Terminal team. So yeah, that's good.
Hey, ching ching.
They're a bunch of
heard
guys.
it here.
All right. Well, I think it's been a good show. So anything else on your side?
I think that's it, man. I'm excited for what we're building next. I'm excited for what Laravel's building next.
Yeah,
I want to build
not as exciting as last week. I feel like it came and there's a lot of great topics we had, but it was a few stories to tell. With this one's a little bit more just what's been going on. We've both been kind of out of commission, so it's been good just to kind of do a final round of LairCon and just talking about the future. You've been listening to another episode of the Midwest Artisan, and hope to see you next week. So, peace.
Peace.